This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. As the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26, Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access. No purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus begins on December 1st, 2025. Ends on July 31st, 2026. Multiple entry periods. Visit www.MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
It's the games we thought might not even take place, but it is happening, and it's just a few weeks away now. Glasgow stepped in, and doing so may just have saved the Commonwealth Games from extinction. And later this month, over 70 nations and territories will gather in Scotland for an event that is approaching its centenary. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and last time the Games were held in Glasgow, Team England tops the medal table. No pressure. It's the Aussies to have led the way in the past two editions, and you can be certain that they will arrive on these shores with another strong team as they ramp up their preparations ahead of hosting the Olympic Games in 2032. That said, we've got full confidence in the team behind the team in delivering another fantastic performance from the host nation's near neighbours.
I am Jonny Riall. I'm the chef de mission for Team England for this year's Commonwealth Games.
And how excited are you with just a couple of weeks to that opening ceremony in the Hydro?
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level and also on a team level, we are really, really excited. We're ready. And as has already been said, this is a Games that we wondered whether it would even happen or take place at one point in time. So the difference in the feeling between a team who didn't have a Games to organise, this is what Team England do, to now just being a couple of weeks away from a reimagined Games in Glasgow, with 10 amazing sports and 250 athletes. We are very ready. Across all 10 sports, the thing that I always like to kind of clarify is there's 16 disciplines there. So there's 10 non-disabled classes and there's 6 para classes in there, which reimagined, but they've been able to sustain and maintain the number of Paralympic classes that had been in previous disciplines. So we'll be represented across all of those 250 athletes and 10 sports.
And the importance of the para events. I mean, Jonny, your day job is head of performance services at Paralympics GB. So I can see why you're enthusiastic about that. But it's actually something different for the Commonwealth Games, isn't it? It shows that it's different from the Olympics. This is something that we could build and grow more as the years go on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And a lot of my background is in that Paralympic space. And I think the Commonwealth Games talk about reimagined. It just reimagines how you can deliver a sports team. And I think the sports that we have see the benefit and see the opportunity of being able to take combined teams to a major championships. I get the question asked of me quite a lot of the time in terms of Olympics and Paralympics. And do we think that they should be combined? I think they have their space. And I think what the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games offer those respective athletes can't really be replaced. But when you see teams come together at the Commonwealth Games, it's fantastic. It's really unique. I had the opportunity to take a triathlon team to Birmingham in a team leader role, and that was Olympic and Paralympic athletes, and sort of see it firsthand what it means to both of those groups of people. And I think it's one of the things that's most special about the Commonwealth Games. So we're really pleased that hasn't been kind of eroded or degraded for Glasgow. I think it'll be a really unique point of these games specifically.
And I know we don't want to go over old ground, but if they hadn't happened, if Glasgow hadn't stepped up, where would Team England be? Where would the Commonwealth Games be?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I taking hats on and off here. I sit on the Team England board in sort of normal time, and it was a question that we were asking ourselves heavily. We believe in the Commonwealth movement. We believe in what it can achieve and its positivity. It's why we're there. It's why we take those roles. And we were really working hard to consider that question and how we as a Team England could be a force for good across the Commonwealth. And I think we were as happy as anybody else when Scotland stepped in and reimagined how they could deliver it. Because I think in these type of environments, if you lose momentum, yeah, it's a very valid question to consider its future. And I think what we've seen is a nation go, we can deliver this in a way which is more sustainable for a good group of athletes. Sports programs may change, and we'll see that for India in 4 years' time. But what we're already seeing is the momentum for other nations to go, okay, if we can think like that and think creatively, then we can be a part of this. And I think it's what the Commonwealth Games needs, and a more diverse group of nations who are able to host it. It's it will be the strength of its future. So I think we're in a much more positive place than we were, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because obviously you mentioned you were in Birmingham leading that triathlon team in Sutton Park. No triathlon this time, but Birmingham seemed such a high watermark for the Commonwealth Games movement that I believe we were beginning to get into an arms race, and maybe it needed that reset moment.
Yeah, I think it did. And there's no taking away from what Birmingham delivered. It was nothing short of extraordinary and an amazing summer of sport, but a one that I think we will be able to see this summer again. But as you say, in a way in which it gives hope for future nations who've never been able to consider hosting a Commonwealth Games, never mind an Olympic Games or Paralympic Games, which kind of costs just increase again. And I think when you look at everything going on in the world, the power of sport to unite nations, you need a really good base of nations that can look at that and aspire to be able to do the same and to benefit their communities and benefit their pathways of athletes, not just the nations which have historically held Commonwealth Games in the past. So I agree. I think it was a blessing in disguise, a challenging period of time which people have worked incredibly hard to overcome. I think we will see a much more positive and sustainable model that hopefully other competitions can learn from as well.
And I hadn't really thought about that, to be honest. This new reset opens the Games up now to a lot more countries and territories that have the potential to host the Games, whether that's to go to Africa, maybe to bring the Games back to the Caribbean, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think anyone involved in the Commonwealth Games would love to see that as a potential future. And the energy and the vibrancy that we see at the Games is often, as a consequence of having these nations fully, absolutely integrated. And you see it at the Youth Games level, Trinidad and Tobago and Malta hosting next year. To be able to see those opportunities transpire at a senior Games, we know that we're in India in 4 years' time, and we know that there was interest from Africa as well. So I think it has given a real new sort of lease of life in terms of the conversations about what's possible. And it will, for me, my personal view really is it'll just further enhance what is so special about the Commonwealth Games and Commonwealth nations being able to put their spin on it and do things in a way which is reimagined and that can work for that part of the world.
Let's talk about Team England, Jonny. Chef de mission. It's a phrase that we hear during the Olympics. It carries on the Commonwealth Games. But what does it mean?
Yeah, that's a very good question. People often ask me what I'm cooking when we get there. I'll not be doing any food-based roles, thankfully. I think Games time chef de mission roles, for me, are very outward-looking. And I would certainly see myself as sort of spokesperson for the team and the person who has the responsibility to make sure our team delivers in the way that it intended to, with the culture and the behaviours that we would aspire to. Day to day, for the last 12 months, I've been able to be in a director of sport and performance role, and the roles are very sort of similar and intertwined. But I see that role as very much a planning, a foundational role, and we're kind of getting to the point now where the chef de mission role starts to come to the fore. Opportunities like this to speak to you guys, and when we get to the Games, very much to be present, leadership, outward face, and to our sports, to our stakeholders. To try and ensure Team England has the most successful Games that it can have in Glasgow.
So Michael said earlier, no pressure that Team England finished top of the medal table in Glasgow in 2014. Who are your main opponents in these Commonwealth Games? The Australian team is very strong with Brisbane coming up. Scotland obviously have decided what sports they want. They're very good at judo, for example.
Yeah, and athletics, I would say, in some senses. We would like to do obviously as well as we can, and we have a goal in mind. Certainly, I think we certainly see Australia, Canada, Scotland. The Welsh team looked really strong when it was announced, but Canada and Australia, I think, in terms of total medal count, will push Team England all the way, and we would hope to do exactly the same back to them. But the sort of mapping and modelling we've done. Australia are an incredibly strong nation. It's already been mentioned their drive towards Brisbane in 2032, the increase in investment, not just in their Olympic and Paralympic team, but also we're seeing in their Commonwealth teams, often the same athletes, but different organisations. But that increase in funding has rolled over. I think everybody is chasing Australia for these games, and I'll be really open and honest about that. And the games organised with 18 months to go, we're the first to acknowledge that some athletes are having to make really difficult decisions this summer about how they prioritise their schedule. But I'm really excited. You know, the 250 athletes we've got is an incredible mix of some very, very established names, but also with people who may go into the games not being a household name, but I'm absolutely certain will leave the games with people who are. So, yeah, it's I would say we have this sort of twin goal really for the games, which is to deliver medals with athletes that we know can, but also to give new athletes the opportunity to do the best they've ever done in a multi-sport games. So we can only control the environment we create for those guys, and we're excited to see what they deliver.
At the start of this year, John and I went to Team GB and Paralympics GB ahead of Milano Cortina. We were with UK Sport and we were talking about medal ranges, medal targets. Do you have anything like that? Because obviously you're not a government-funded team here. Do you have targets that you want to hit? How are you accountable? How are you judged?
We do, and the target that we've set is between 75 and 100 medals. We haven't made that any more clear in terms of gold, silver, bronze. We're looking at that as a more global target. And that is really representative of where our sports are within their cycle. And again, going back to that point, a games that was announced with just less than 2 years to go has meant some sports have had to really consider the goal of the Commonwealth Games. So some sports, it is a little bit more of a development opportunity. And in other sports, we are seeing absolutely the sort of top tier of athletes who would go to an Olympic or Paralympic Games. But we feel 75 to 100 medals is realistic and aspirational still for where our kind of final team, now that we have it, is ready to go and deliver.
Do you have a spreadsheet? Do you plot where you think those medals are going to be won? And do you know who the main rivals are in each discipline and each event?
Yeah, there's lots of spreadsheets, Michael. It's maybe not ones that I delve too deeply into at this stage, but we do, and we have a team of people who are working really hard to try and understand what our days will look like, where our key opportunities will come from. But if you look more internally to Team England and what matters to us, we're also trying to look at kind of this notion of PBs or sport bests. So for those athletes who've never been to multi-sport games before, what would a PB look like for them? And in some sports, that's a number or a time, but in other sports, it might not be. It might be progression through the rounds and how highly they get to compete. And that matters just as much to us as a global medal count. So we're tracking all of those things, and we should do. You know, we have to be accountable to creating that environment and creating it to the highest standards. So, you know, we'll get athletes to the start line and we will support them and cheer them however they do. But yes, we would still aspire to a lot of medals in Glasgow. I'd like to hear that national anthem played lots of times, and we'll celebrate along.
Can I ask about the national anthem? Because it changes for Team England, doesn't it? Quite often. Yeah. Sometimes we've had Land of Hope and Glory, and sometimes we have God Save the King. What will it be?
Yeah, it's neither of those, actually. It's Jerusalem, which it has been now for a number of games. And it's something that we have had actually quite a lot of fun with over the last 6 months in terms of our team leader team, our team behind the team. We've had sessions where we've sang it and we've learnt the words, and I would expect to see if we are on that top step of the podium, look out into the crowd, because I would hope and expect people are singing it to the top of their lungs. All of the athletes are going to get a place card with all of the lyrics on there. And we want it to feel familiar.
I remember now. But it's interesting what you say about the athletes, because there will be some who've never heard it. They may be cricket fans who have heard it because it gets played before test matches and the like, but there may be some who've never heard it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's funny that you say that. It was something when I came into this role last sort of October. It was raised quite early on. And I feel like with any of these things, you can either roll over and accept that it's maybe not something that many people know, and especially if you're a younger athlete, this is your first time, or you confront up to it and put something around that to guide people towards hopefully really connecting with it and enjoying that moment in Glasgow this summer. We did a wonderful session with the team behind the team where we just asked people, what is your connection to this song? What does it mean to you? And for some people, it didn't. This is going to be something they learn. And for others, it just had such a wonderful meaning. Played at people's weddings, played at people's funerals. And I think suddenly you kind of, once you realise there is a connection and it does mean something.
This is Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy in conversation with Jonathon Riall, chef de mission for Team England. When you say Jerusalem, to me, it's the song that we used to have at our school assembly at the start and end of every term. So when I hear it, I think of my misspent youth. The opening ceremony, I'm obsessed with opening ceremonies. It's going to be different. Do you know anything about it? Will you have flag bearers? And if so, how do you choose those? What are your kind of parameters about the people that you want to bring that George Cross in?
We don't know anything about it creatively, and it's been a tightly kept secret. We know the organising company are really excited by the opening ceremony, and again, it is reimagined. It's in the Hydro, which is where netball will play, and netball will be delayed until day 2 to make space for that. So, quite a compact venue, 9,000 spectators. And for this Games, again, they are reimagining that notion of 2 flag bearers, normally a male and a female, but this time round there will be a flag bearer and a baton bearer. And we will select both of those individuals quite late, actually. We'll do that in the days leading up to the opening ceremony. And in principle, we want it to be something that athletes choose themselves for this opening ceremony, and it'll be slightly different for the closing. So we will get nominations in from sports and it will go out to an athlete vote. So the athletes who represent us at the opening ceremony will absolutely have been voted on by their peers and we've left the kind of criteria really open. It's who do you think deserves to represent our nation, deserves to represent your team? So that might be performance driven. It might be a really high level athlete. It might be something completely different. I'm really excited to see actually who does come through from those initial nominations. I think we'll have more English representation at the opening ceremony than many opening ceremonies have had over recent games. And we recognise and acknowledge performance standards go up, performance decisions become harder, and we saw it in Milan that general representation can be really low at times, actually. And I think with the Games opening ceremony being so central to where all of our teams are staying, and being done in a way which is, I think slightly tighter in time. I'm excited to see us having a good sizable team of athletes at the opening ceremony.
Yeah, and there'll be some names to choose from, the likes of Adam Ramsey, PT, Dina Asher-Smith, Max Whitlock. Full disclosure, I love the opening ceremony. John doesn't. Johnny, convince John why the opening ceremony is a moment and an important moment at the start of every Games.
I mean, look, you can have your opinion on the creative flair, should we say, of how some opening ceremonies choose to represent themselves. But I think for me, it's a moment in an athlete's career that can't be replicated simply by a gun going off or the start of a competition. And I think that's what makes multi-sport games just that special. Our athletes will be very, very used to being on a track, being on a judo mat, or being in a gymnastics ring, but coming together with 250 of their teammates at a Games, which is reimagined. And I think we've focused purely on what will be positive and exciting about these Games. I think the opening ceremony just gives us all a chance to recognise the moment, recognise the work that's gone into it by everybody, celebrate each other's achievements, and then you get your head down and you do your work for a couple of weeks. So I'm really excited. And the organising company promise us something different, something special. We might speak again in a few weeks' time and see what that will look like.
I understand it from an athlete's point of view. I just don't particularly want to watch it myself. Look, Jonny, I'd love to talk to you, and maybe you can come back on the podcast as head of performance at Paralympics GB, because we'd love to talk to you more about that. So a couple more questions for me to finish, just on Team England and the Commonwealth Games. Yeah. Michael's excited about the opening ceremony. I'm on to day one already. I'm thinking, right, do you need a good start? Does Team England need a start? And you've got swimming, you've got gymnastics going on those opening days to get the games underway.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't want a bad start. I think that's for sure. But it's how you choose good and bad. And I think I'd come back to, we will have a really clear understanding of what our sports who are going to be out on day one are aiming to achieve. You take swimming as an example. They've got some absolutely world-class athletes in there. They are also up against a full squad of Australian athletes. We know that. We know Australia are bringing their full team. So it may be that medals don't come flying through the door within the first hour or two. That's okay, and we understand that, and we know that we'll face some questions around that. And no team is going to not want to have momentum from the off, but we know that our momentum will come across the 10 days of competition that we've got. So I won't be worrying hugely. I always talk about control. I think whether it's in my other role or this role, what do we control? And the staff that I have responsibility over can't control whether medals come in on day one, but what we can control is the environment we've created, how it feels, how it's functioning and operating. And for me, actually, that's more important on day 6 and 7, 8 and 9 and 10, when everybody's starting to feel the heat a little bit. So they're the things I'm going to be concentrating on, which I think underpin sports and athletes being able to go and do what they've worked for. This isn't my journey. I'm not winning those medals. Neither is our staff team. It's those athletes' opportunity. So we just got to do what we can to help them be ready to do the things that they're so good at.
And on a personal level, you are an experienced multi-games person. Slightly differently, Michael and I are as well, and we have different ways of how we deal with the days and the weeks that these games last. You've got 3 daughters. How do you get to see them during the games? Michael never sees his. He decided that it was too distracting for them and for him. Well, I always like to see my son and my wife at some point during the games. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I've had all types of examples, and I've traveled for months and months on end with various roles and not seen my family. They are incredibly important to me. And actually, during these games, my youngest daughter, who's only 10 months old now, will turn 1. She'll turn 1 on the 27th of July. And us as a family, we made a real decision to try and see each other on that day. Now, that is open-ended, and it may happen and it may not. And if anything is kind of kicking off from a Team England side of things, I'll be there making sure it's being managed. But all 3 of my daughters and my wife will be in Glasgow watching the sport. We're all big sports fans, and I hope I get to share a small bit of birthday cake for half an hour on that day, certainly.
Well, we'll put a little note in our diary for the 27th of July as well, not to bother you too much that day. Final question from me. We've obviously mentioned that your main role is with Paralympics GB. So you've had a Milano Cortina Paralympics to organise this year, straight into Team England and a Commonwealth Games. What's the holiday plan after that? Because it sounds like you might need it.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is going back to work after her maternity, so there's a bit of a whole family plan before we look too much into holidays. But it's what we do these roles for, and actually, I would struggle more for big long periods of time where we don't get to go and have the privilege to do what we're doing. So this year, on many levels, personal and professional, has been one that I'll remember for a really long time. For me, actually, the pace of the games, the importance of your decisions, the importance of you being kind of as good as you can. It's like, it's a performance as such, kind of like athletes aim to peak. This year has been unbelievable, and having the opportunity to support the Paralympic team in Milan, and I was back at the Chef de Mission seminar in Glasgow 5 days after I got back. It was straight into it. It's been an absolute privilege and an honour, and one that you never know if you'll ever get back in a career. So we've got a couple of big months ahead. I'm just wanting to enjoy every moment of those I'm sure there'll be a cheeky trip to Spain at some point, maybe in the autumn. But yeah, for now, very much sights all on Glasgow.
Jonny Riall, chef de mission for Team England ahead of Glasgow 2026. Thank you so much for your insights on great British bosses from Anything But Footy. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.